Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So before we get started, a quick note. We had to switch our Twitter account, and so now our handle is rm_transit. Go follow us over there. We like to post on Twitter, and we think that Twitter is a great place to have conversations. So now on to the main topic of this video. Today, kind of unexpectedly for me, I wasn't expecting this at all, there were two huge transit announcements for the GTHA. The first one, the Hurontario LRT. So an official proponent has been decided for the project. Now, it's not made out of super interesting organizations, but Hitachi is in there, which is quite cool. The Hurontario LRT now having a chosen proponent may not seem like a huge deal, but it really is. It means that the companies that will build the project and deliver it, and operate it over some period of time most likely, have now been chosen. It's really exciting because now design work can start on the project's final alignments and stations. As well, construction work can start once that design work is completed, so the fact that this has happened is super exciting. In addition, since the procurement is essentially done at this point, the project will not be cancelled. Of course, it is possible, but it's about a 99.9% chance that it won't be cancelled, which is super exciting because it means that finally the GTHA has another very nice north-south transit corridor. When you think about it, we don't have that many straight north-south transit corridors. The Yonge and University subways are pretty much the only one. You might be able to argue the Barrie and Stouffville lines are as well, but it's a little less clear to me. Nonetheless, this line is critical to connecting up Peel region, and it's really important for Mississauga's transit future, as we mentioned in a previous video. Now, of course, as I said, the project could be cancelled, but given the fact that the provincial Conservative government has allowed the project to continue, and now that a final proponent has been decided, it's very unlikely. So we're super excited to see this happen. Now, the second announcement was really two announcements. The first was that the federal government, with the kind of blessing of the provincial government, will be funding the Bloor-Yonge station expansion. Now, we haven't really talked about it on this channel, and that's because the TTC has a laundry list of projects they'd like to build if they had the funding. However, there's so many, and they change so frequently that we weren't really sure it was worth making a video about. That being said, this project is finally funded, and it's really awesome to see. Now, this becomes kind of the second major station rebuild we've seen in recent years. Of course, there's kind of general maintenance and accessibility upgrades that we see more frequently, but Union Station a few years ago was rebuilt to add a secondary platform. And in a very similar way, Bloor-Yonge will be rebuilt on the Line 2 platform such that the current narrow island platform, and it is very narrow and unsafe, becomes two platforms which are both side platforms. The existing platform will serve westbound trains, and then the new southern platform will serve eastbound trains. There will also be kind of more concourse space added and some more vertical access connecting the Line 1 platforms. Overall, Bloor-Yonge is already by a pretty large margin the station with the most platform space, especially on the Line 1 platforms. So it's really exciting to see this project going through. It's huge though. It's built directly underneath some of the biggest and tallest buildings in Toronto. And so actually seeing this project undertaken is going to be very interesting, and we'll be sure to follow it, provide lots of videos on the construction. What's perhaps even more interesting is the cost. The project costs about $1 billion. Now, the cost will be split between the city and the federal government with the kind of blessing of the provincial government. And overall, it's a very exciting project. Bloor-Yonge, despite eventually being relieved by the relief line, is already over capacity. The Line 2 platform is really narrow and dangerous, and so seeing a slight reconfiguration of it would be really fantastic, such that it's a bit more safe, and the platforms will likely get spruced up quite a bit. And I would actually argue that Union Station, for example, is one of the cleanest, nicest stations in the TTC network. So it'll be really nice to see Bloor-Yonge, one of the most popular stations, for example, for tourists to visit, will have a nice new finish, a nice new coat of paint, maybe a really fancy white finish similar to Union. So that's super exciting. The other piece of this announcement were the 6 SmartTrack stations. Now, SmartTrack is pretty much all but dead at this point because all it is 6 GO stations. However, I'll give John Tory the benefit of the doubt. I'll call them the SmartTrack stations because I'm happy that this project actually got through. You see, these 6 stations are probably the 6 highest value GO RER stations because they're in pretty dense areas where there's existing kind of demand for transit. They're not out in the boonies like a lot of GO stations, and of course they've kind of evaded the provincial government's new policy, which is that developers have to build and pay for stations. Of course, this is kind of a double-edged sword because since these are the densest and kind of most attractive locations, these might have been the ones that were most easily built by developers. However, some of them aren't really in locations where I can imagine a lot of development being able to happen because it's quite dense already and there's maybe not a lot of room, so it's super exciting to see them happen. Now, the 6 stations are Finch and Lawrence, which are both going to be on the Stouffville line. It's really exciting to me to see more stations on both Finch and Lawrence because finally we'll have kind of an eastern north-south connector through Scarborough. It will mean that the Stouffville line has quite a few stops though, so it's really critical that we have those electric trains operating because today 4 more Stouffville line stations were announced, and already the Stouffville line can be annoying when it stops at Danforth and Scarborough. So imagining 4 extra stops would be really infuriating with the current diesel trains that take a long time to decelerate and accelerate. Especially Finch and Steeles are quite close together, and so having the train speed up just to slow right back down seems a little bit of an annoyance right now. Now next up, we have Gerrard-Carlaw and East Harbour. Now East Harbour we've spoken about before. It's a huge new development on the east end of the downtown core, kind of between the Portlands and the Canary District. It's a very exciting area. There's going to be a lot of density. The Ontario line will be there. A new streetcar extension will be there. So East Harbour is looking a lot like something like Dundas West, a station where a lot of different modes come together. And of course it will be integrated from day one, which is very exciting. Gerrard-Carlaw will provide a nice connection to the Ontario line, the Lakeshore East, and the Stouffville line. It's in a little less of a kind of perfect location like East Harbour is, where there's a ton of redevelopment already happening, but there's a lot of developed community already there, so it's exciting that these people will now have a new transit option. Finally, we have St. Clair Old Weston and King Liberty. Now, King Liberty in particular is super exciting. Not only is it connecting to the really well-used King streetcar, but it's right in the center of Liberty Village, meaning that residents there now have another option besides Exhibition Go to get downtown. Of course though, this means that we're going to have to see way increased Kitchener, potentially Up Express, though I kind of am dubious about adding a station, another station on that route, and Milton service, as well as potentially Barrie service. What's critical with a lot of these stations is figuring out what trains are going to be on what platforms, because if you're perhaps waiting on the wrong platform and a train pulls in, that's going to be an issue. Nonetheless, it's super exciting to see 6 new critical GO stations added to Toronto's network, and the fact that the federal government is stepping in with the blessing of the province means that it's unlikely we see such projects cancelled if a new federal government is elected in the fall, because the federal government right now is a liberal government and the provincial government is a conservative government. So if, for example, a federal liberal government falls to a new federal conservative government, it would be unlikely to see those conservatives shoot the other conservatives in the feet. And if the federal NDP by a miracle wins, they like transit enough anyways that they wouldn't cancel the project. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Really excited that these new projects are coming out in Toronto. As always, consider following us on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for watching. It's been a long day, I'm very tired, but have a good night.